So cloud computing has enabled machine learning scientists to innovate at a much faster pace. I'm delighted to introduce Vasi, who leads the AI group at Amazon within Amazon Web Services, and he'll talk about AI and cloud computing. So with that, thank you, Vasi. Give him a round of applause.
So I'm just going to quickly set up. Give me a sec. Yeah, I'm probably not going to need it. Thanks. Okay, great. All right. Okay. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. My name is Vasi Fullerman. I'm a general manager in the AWS AI group. And in case you're wondering about my PhD, it actually happens to be in machine learning. For some strange reason in the 90s, when all of my friends were doing their PhDs in aeronautical engineering and databases, I chose to do it in machine learning, and it's serving me well right now. So, right. So if you're like me and you know a lot about machine learning, you know machine learning is all of the rage right now, but you know this has happened before. It happens sort of once every decade or so. So machine learning feels like it's going to take off, and everybody's hoping that curve adoption to happen, and then something happens and the thing just sort of fades away into a machine learning winter, if you will. Right? So the number one question that customers ask me is, why is this time any different? Is this exactly a repeat of what's happened in the past, or is it going to be something different? And so the way I think about it is just take a look at past iterations of machine learning and see what's been the challenge or the problems in the past iterations, right? And the problem has always been one of scale. And it's in many different steps during the machine learning modeling process, but basically, essentially, the problem has always been one of scale. And let me sort of walk you through it. So the first thing that we all know is that you need a lot of data in order to build your models. The more data you have, the better and more accurate your models become, right? So having all of that data is a scale issue, right? The second thing is, if you're familiar with machine learning, then you know that with all of that data, you're going to do some form of a training, and then to create an artifact, a model artifact at the end of it. And this training process is a very computationally intensive process. It requires a lot of compute, and it could take on the order of weeks, sometimes even months, depending on the model you're creating. So that's another scale problem, right? And finally, once you've got your model, you want that model to be doing the thing it was created for in the first place, which is you take that model, you put it out in the wild, and then you let it face data it's never seen before, and it's going to do the prediction for you, right? And again, that's a scale problem because the traffic that comes at it can really scale, can vary a lot depending on the time, right? So all of these have been they've been limiting machine learning in the past. So the question is, why is now any different? If you just happen to look over what companies like Amazon have done over the last 10 years, you may get the answer to this one, right? So the first thing on the data side is that we've got lots and lots of data now in the cloud. A lot of them are being created by default in the cloud, all of the devices that are connected. So data and dealing with lots of data is no longer a problem. It's been solved. And if you move on to training, again, with the introduction of pay-as-you-go pricing and elastic capacity, you no longer have to worry about investing upfront in all of that infrastructure and dealing with all of that infrastructure. You can sit in your garage today and you can spin up as many machines as you want with a single click and get things done, right? So training, again, is something that I don't think is an issue anymore. And finally, prediction. Here we've had some innovations like serverless computing, which we call Lambda, where you can just take your model and put it into Lambda and then not worry about all of the infrastructure that comes into play when the volume comes in and the volume gets out, right? And we also have means to take that same model you've created and deploy it to edge devices as well. So again, I think right now we've got a situation where all of these things have been sort of taken care of, and I really think this time around machine learning is for real. In fact, the last 5 years or so, I was doing something else. I was doing connected lighting for Philips. I was having a very good business there. The Bay Bridge in San Francisco is one of my projects, actually, and I actually left that to come back to machine learning because I think this is the right time for machine learning to shine. So here are all the customers that are using, they have some form of machine learning workloads on AWS today. You can see Zillow is in there. They use us to determine their Zestimate, in case you didn't know. So that's there. FINRA is in there. FINRA is a company that looks at billions of transactions, stocks transactions, and stock-related transactions, and they look for fraud and fraudulent activity and things around like that. So all of these customers today run some form of machine learning workload on AWS today, right? So I wanted to give you this as an introduction. This was sort of the first section of what I wanted to talk about. My next section, what I want to talk about is how Amazon uses AI internally for its own businesses. We have been actually doing machine learning for a really long time, but we don't talk a lot about it. So I thought I could sort of talk to you about how we use machine learning internally. What do we use machine learning for? Primarily, we use it to innovate, but innovation has a lot of different flavors, and I'll sort of walk you through some of the flavors, right? So the first area where we use machine learning is obviously in our fulfillment centers. So this is one of our 1 million square foot fulfillment centers. They're very expensive, and we want to make sure that we drive maximum throughput through them, right? And the way things used to work before these robots were there, the people were fulfilling your orders that you do on Amazon.com. They have to walk to the place, pick up the inventory, and then go back and then fulfill the order, right? But here, what we have now, what I'm showing you right now, is our robots. So what these robots are doing is basically they're lifting up these are, I think, 700-pound shelves, 8-foot shelves. They're lifting that up and taking it to the person that's actually fulfilling the order for you. So this way, we can utilize the space to the max. We can put these shelves very close to each other, and when we get new inventory, we just shove it into the first open slot, and we keep track of all of this stuff. So a lot of automation helps us maximize the throughput through these fulfillment centers. And all of these fleets of robots, they're all managed up on AWS. So that's one place where we use machine learning. Another place where we use machine learning, and this is something that you may have seen often, is in search and discovery. There was a talk earlier this morning, Netflix talking to you about collaborative filtering. This was in 1996 or 1997. Customers who bought this also bought that. I'm sure you're familiar with that. That was the first large-scale use of machine learning, and we did that back in 96, 97, right? So that's another place where we use machine learning. Another thing we do is we look at our existing products that are already there, and then we try and use machine learning to sort of make those products more intelligent. So here's an example of that. This is the Kindle, and this is the Game of Thrones. And this is the X-ray feature on Kindle. So what you're seeing here is that we're able to go into the book, extract all the entities, the characters, and then figure out how they interact with each other, and then have that up front in the book for people to see. So that's the X-ray feature on the Kindle. We can do that in English, and we can do that in Japanese as well. I'll be talking a little bit more about the technology behind it later on, but that goes to show you how we actually use it to innovate on existing products. Here's another one. This is the Fire TV. If you pause the Fire TV, you actually get to see who the characters are in that particular scene. And it's not face recognition. You don't even see their faces. So that's another example. It's the X-ray feature for live TV, for video, basically. That's what you're seeing there. So that's on existing products. And then what we've managed to do lately is create an entire new category of products that actually are there because of the machine learning, right? And the obvious one that everyone here in the room probably needs no explanation for is the Amazon Echo line of products and the Alexa digital assistant behind it. And this is one of those Echo line of products that you may not be familiar with. It's called the Echo Look. It's got a camera in there. It's actually a style assistant. It's got a camera that's a wide-angle camera so that you can actually see your whole body when you're wearing an outfit. And it has capabilities to sense the depth, so it sort of blurs out the background and so makes your outfit pop out so that you can better look at how you look in that outfit, and then you can get advice in the cloud. You can ask for assistance in helping you with your style as to what to wear when you want to wear it, right? So that's another thing that we've done. And how many of you here know about Amazon Go? Okay, that's just a few. Okay, all right. So there's just one store today in Seattle. It's public. It's open to the public right now, but it wasn't open to the public until very recently. It's a store where I would go and pick up my lunch. But the concept here is it's a no lines, no checkout convenience store. You can go in. When you go in, you just take your phone, you swipe it as you enter. You pick up things you want to buy, such as sandwiches or beer, anything you want to buy. Just put it in your bag and walk out. And you'll get billed as soon as you walk out. When you've experienced that, you start sort of hating lines. You know that they're no longer really needed. So these are the kinds of new experiences I think one can create if you have machine learning. So basically, that sort of covers what I wanted to say next, which is, earlier I introduced to you why machine learning is here to stay this time around, and I just showed you how Amazon thinks about using machine learning to do various things within the company. What I want to now shift to is talk about how we look at machine learning, what is our strategy, business strategy around it, and I'll kind of dive deep into a couple of services to show you how easy it is for you to do something with machine learning today. The philosophy for us when we think about the business side of things is exactly this. This is William Gibson, the sci-fi author. Here's what he says. He says, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed yet. This has been our strategy for a while. We did that for computing, we did that for storage, things that were available just to a few because of the resources that they have and the people that they have. We believe in taking that and making it available to everybody. And this is exactly the same thing we're also wanting to do with machine learning. We want to put AI and machine learning in the hands of every developer out there. That's sort of really our strategy. And we think of the stack, the AI stack, on these 3 layers. Now, I was asked to talk a lot about the voice chat related topics today, so I've blanked out the second and the third tiers. But as data scientists in this room, there's a lot for you in the second layer of the stack. If you don't know what SageMaker is, I'd like you to go and take a look at it. If you're a data scientist, and there was a lot of talk earlier today about interaction between data scientists and engineers and the infrastructure that plays a role there. So if you're a data scientist and you don't want to do all the heavy lifting around infrastructure, and you don't really need the help of an engineer, go take a look at SageMaker, because that'll probably help you there. We've got, in SageMaker, we have managed notebooks that help you experiment. We've got automated training, so once you can bring in your own algorithms, but we also have existing algorithms in there. And then you can do training, and the training automatically spins up as many machines as you want and does it all in parallel. So there's a lot of useful things in there if you're interested in that. I'm going to focus for this talk on some of the services at the higher levels up there. And I thought I would start with Amazon Comprehend, because this is one of our most popular services. It's basically NLP, and what it does is it helps you do text analytics. So you can simply look at a piece of text, which is unstructured text, and then you can convert it into very structured text. Now I'm going to show you a demo to help you understand how to use it. But basically, what it allows you to do is extract entities of interest, and entities could be things like people, organizations, and so on. It helps you understand sentiment. If you're looking at customer reviews or tweets, it helps you understand the sentiment behind certain characters. So this is exactly what we were using when I showed you earlier about the X-ray feature in Kindle. This is the sort of technology we use there. It helps you also detect the kind of language, and it helps you also figure out things like topics and model them. It helps you do those things. Quick example, if you give it a sentence like this, this is what it's going to do. It's going to extract those named entities that you see up there. Amazon.com is an organization, Seattle is a location, July 5th is a date, the key phrases that are important in that section of text, and what the sentiment is. People love buying everything from books to blenders. That's a very positive sentiment. People love buying things on Amazon. You see that there, right? So our launch customers with this, Hotels.com was one of our launch customers, and they were using Comprehend to sort of figure out how to understand the reviews that are left on their site for certain properties. So it's not important to just understand that some review is positive. You want to know why. Maybe because that property has a swimming pool and this person likes that. That's the sort of information you can get out of it. And then if there's another user who likes swimming pools, then that's the sort of review he would like to see, right? And so that hotels.com does things like that. At this point, what I'd like to do is to show you a demo, and I'd like to set up this demo. Basically, when we built Comprehend, we launched it at reInvent last year. We were wondering how best to showcase what Comprehend can do. And one of the problems we've had inside the company, our CEO always would know what people are saying about our products before we do. He's on Twitter, and he knows that, and he'll always show it to us. So we wanted a way to sort of know what people were saying about our brand. We also wanted to know what people were saying about specific products that we are launching or things that are trending. But we wanted to understand the sentiment around it and also be able to figure out quickly what's going on. So we built this demo app, which I'm going to actually show it to you right now, live. So let me open up my browser. All right. So this is actually a combination of multiple services. I'll talk about this later. Comprehend is sort of the main thing in here. Basically, you're looking at all of the tweets on Twitter, and then you're ingesting all of those tweets, and then you're converting all of that unstructured text into structured text, right? And this is sort of what it shows you. So Comprehend understands all these things. It understands organization, as we talked about. It understands titles. Could be software titles, could be movie titles, could be music titles, could be anything, right? It understands people, and so on. And in here, you sort of see the volume. And if I sort of go back, you see that big spike was around reInvent. That's when there's a lot of activity on Twitter talking about AWS in particular, right? And then here are all the tweets, and you can see that they are multilingual. So there's Spanish, there's French. So basically, it's a multilingual social analytics, because Translate is also one of my other services, so you could use that to translate it. And this way, you could understand what people are saying around the globe. So then if I go down a little bit, you see where the tweets are coming from, obviously, and then down bottom at the bottom are the English tweets. Now here's where this whole thing becomes useful. Now, because reInvent is a software conference, right? I'm interested in titles. So what I can do is sort of go in and say focus only on title, and then I can pick that and I can apply it to all visuals. And then here you start seeing just software titles. Lambda, which is one of our services, Alexa, EC2, S3, I've got recognition in there, CloudFormation in there. So suddenly now, this is a very rich thing that I can start querying further and further, right? I'm sort of now, I know that EC2 is a large business, I know S3 is a large business, but I'm sort of surprised that so many people are talking about Lambda here. So what I can now do is focus on just Lambda. And again, I can apply this to all visuals, right? And then if I go all the way down and look at the tweets and look at some of those, they're going to be very Lambda specific, right? Used Lambda, AWS Lambda for the first time today. It's super awesome. And these are live, by the way. There's many more. This awesome tool makes your Lambda is only allowed to access what it actually should. So I can also go in now and change the sentiment and look for negative sentiment, which is something that is super important, because you want to know what people are saying, what people are not liking about your products, because then you can go and fix those things. So this is a quick thing that we were able to put together that already showed us, had a lot of business value for us. That's all I wanted to show you on this one. I'm not going to switch to the negative ones because I don't want you guys to see all the negative stuff. But let me actually go back to the presentation now, and let me ask you guys some questions. How long did you think this took to build? And before you answer that question, let me go back and tell you that it's a combination of 6 or 7 AWS services. Basically, we're using Kinesis to sort of suck in all of the tweets. We're running Comprehend on a Lambda infrastructure. Then we dump that data on S3, and then we query the S3 thing using Athena. And finally, we visualize the results using QuickSight, right? So now, knowing that, how long do you think this took to build? Man, okay, you guys are tough. Okay. 30 minutes. Okay, no, it took us a day to build it. Okay, all right. Maybe you could build it in 30 minutes. All right. I would love to have you in my team if that's the case. All right. So then, any guesses on how much does it cost to run per day? Come on. You guys are talking about open source and, like taking open source and running open source and then building all these models with scientists that are hard to find, right? So how much do you think this costs? Huh? Yeah, okay. So AWS volume, that was like 30,000 tweets a day. $200 a day. Okay, great. Now I'm getting somewhere, right? It's actually $17 a day. That's all it costs you. And so when you're thinking, if you're a business owner, and I'm coming from that angle always, even though I'm technical, the thing to think about is what you're doing core to your business. Do you need to maintain an NLP model if you're working for, let's say, a place where a beauty store? Is that the core value? So that's the first question I would ask. Then the second question I would ask is, like, if there's someone else that's put in all the resources and made this available, isn't it a lot easier for me to just use it? If of course it has to satisfy your particular need. If it doesn't, you're going to have to do something else. But if it does satisfy your need, at that kind of a pay-as-you-go price, it's just 3 cups of coffee a day, you can do a lot. And so there's definitely going to be some startup sitting in a garage somewhere that's going to be doing it, which is going to compete with you at some point or other. So I think these are the things to think about when you're deciding to either do it yourself or deciding to do open source or deciding to take on something that's available in the cloud that's being maintained for you. So there's a value. The main value proposition for Comprehend is it gets better over time. It gets better continuously over time. And it allows you to do more and more over time without you having to spend all the effort in something that's not core to your business, right? So that's something that I wanted to leave you with because I think this is a question that I get a lot when I go and meet customers, right? So that was a Comprehend. What I want to switch to is some voice stuff now, and maybe tell you some things that you may not have known. So Amazon Polly is our text-to-speech engine. It's the thing, one of its voices, Alexa's voice, is actually coming from the Polly technology. Amazon Polly has about 50 plus voices across 26 different languages. Typically, there's a male and a female voice. The Alexa voice, of course, is a brand voice. It's not available for others to use. But we do have a service where customers who want to have their own brand voice that's only usable by them can come in and create one. All we need is a voice actor that they choose, and then we'll have to make some recordings, and then we can create the voice after that, right? So when my team builds Polly, I want to talk about some of the things that we think about when we build a service like Polly. But first, let's just take a listen to Polly. It's one of the publicly available voices for you to use in your own app. Let's sort of take a listen to how the voice sounds.
Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeked into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations?
So that was just the first paragraph from Alice in Wonderland that I just copied and pasted into the Polly console to get that output. You can see that I didn't have to do anything there. The pauses are there. It's very understandable. But if you sort of go deeper and look into some of the things that we have to worry about when we build voices like Polly, here are some examples. So the one thing we have to worry about is giving it the ability to understand units, right? So let's see what happens if I give that first sentence to Polly.
1 pint, 8 ounces, 24 fluid ounces, 710 milliliters.
Right? And then there are some words that are pronounced differently even though they appear in the same sentence, and that's the second example.
We live for the music, live from the Madison Square Garden.
Right? We also have to think about making this thing intelligible. If you give it a tongue twister, and I'm going to give it one now, it's not a complicated one, but even the complicated ones, you make it say it 10 times or 100 times, it's going to say it the same way.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Right? And then there's the developer flexibility, right? So if you would give Polly just the first sentence up there,
Richard's number is 2,122,349,237.
right? Right, so there's no context there at all, right? And we do have an XML equivalent here. It's called SSML, so we support SSML tags. So you can tag it, and then
Richard's number is
right? With the pauses at the right places and so on. Now, with that functionality of SSML, you can actually start having a lot of fun. So let me play this. Right. All right, so you can do all of that with just a bunch of tags, right? And what we're experimenting on, where I see things going, so this is actually a short video. It's Sumerian is one of our services. It does these avatars. Don't focus on the avatar. Focus instead on two other things, right? The one is the speech marks, which is basically we tell you exactly when the words end, so that if you want to highlight things or if you want to match visemes of your own character with the phonemes, you can do that, right? The other thing is emotion. So I'll let you listen to this.
The night was about to fall, and we were still lost in the forest. As she heard branches cracking, Mary started to whisper.
Right? So you can actually go to the Poly console today. You can pick the Korean voice. And there's default text in there, so you don't even need to go searching for text. You play that, and then all you need to do is pick a piece of that sentence and insert the whisper tag. And then that voice is going to whisper as well. So this whisper emotion is applied to all of the voices that are out there. So here are some of our Poly customers. The one that I'll point out is Duolingo. How many of you here know what? Okay. So it's actually an app on the phone. It allows you to learn a new language. And we've come so far that you can now use Poly to help you learn the pronunciation in a new language, right? So that's how far we've come. And the last piece that I'd probably do for you is Lex, a little bit of Lex. The name Lex, where did that come from? Most people don't know about it. Actually, we took Alexa, and then we took the guts of Alexa, and literally we removed the two A's at the end of Alexa, and then there was Lex. And Lex was meant to help developers, not designers. So Lex was meant to help developers build these chatbots, and the key vision there was it had to be omni-channel. So it should, first of all, it had to accept either text or voice, and then once you build a bot, you need to be able to deploy it onto multiple channels. And multiple channels could be your website, it could be your mobile app, it could be Facebook Messenger, it could be Slack, or it could even be Connect. And I'll talk about Connect in a second. Connect or any IVR software, right? Any call center platform, you should be able to deploy that bot and have that bot take the place of a human, right? But you should build that bot just once. That was the primary vision for Lex. So because this was covered a lot in the previous talk, I'm going to quickly skip over some of the things. But the basic thing, I think, to understand here is that you need to think about intent of the person that's actually trying to do something with the bot. You then, as a user, all you need to do, you don't have to do any complicated stuff. You just need to provide a few utterances for some of the intents as to what will map to the intent, right? And we'll expand the utterance list in the background for you. You have to identify the pieces of information that the bot needs in order to perform that task. And that's what is called slots, right? And then there are some slot values where we help you automate a lot of that stuff. One thing to note, though, is the dialogues don't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, similar to how we speak with each other. And here's just a quick example that goes through how the whole thing works in the back. But I'm probably going to skip it because it was covered a little bit in the previous talk. But the key thing I want to point out is it's not this one large sentence with a lot of slots. You can have multi-turn conversations very easily with Lex. And I'm not going to go through it because we don't have the time. And again, you can have input, either text or input can be voice. And the thing is, Lex is going to help you figure out, like, you don't have to model everything. Like, if there is one slot that's unfilled, Lex is going to generate a question that will elicit that answer from the user. So you don't have to model the dialogue in great depth either. So I'm showing you basically here that it's multiple rounds. It's not this one long sentence with a lot of slots. You can see on the left, we have a lot of help for you if you want to create that bot and deploy it into multiple channels. I'll show you a demo very shortly now. We also have connectors in the back. and here's how they look. The look and feel is automatically changed to the kind of platform you want to deploy in. Here are some examples. Again, you can have things like these cards, visual cards. We take care of the translation for you. It's just the same exact bot, but because that platform there has the support for cards, we are able to translate it to that medium for that. Again, we have lots of examples of customers using it. The American Heart Association is one of the companies that use Lex. There's Heart Walk events every year, and people register for it. And they get a lot of people that register for it, and that whole registration process goes through a bot that they built on top of Lex. That's a pure text-based bot. Right now, what I'm going to do now, so that I leave enough time for questions at the end, I'm going to show you the demo here. It's an Amazon Connect demo. For this, I need to introduce to you what Connect is. Connect is our call center platform. Basically, I'm going to show you quickly what it is. It is actually something that if you are operating a call center, that's what you would need. You can set up a call center in 5 minutes. Normally, it takes 6 to 8 months to set it up with lots of custom stuff that needs to happen. Here, you can go to the website. You can bring your own phone numbers with you, or you can claim numbers that we offer, and then you could set up your call center in a matter of minutes. You could have people sitting, some of your agents sitting in one part of the world, another sitting in another part of the world. You can route incoming calls based on a workflow like this one. And then those people can then receive those calls. We also provide a widget. So here, this is a, why is it opening? Okay, this is a widget that you can embed into your own sort of web console for that human agent that is sitting somewhere, right? And what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to first route the call to Lex. So this call is going to be picked up by Lex. And this is actually a person that is a human agent that is sitting somewhere, and I'm going to play that role as well. So I'll just wait for a second for it to load. I'm going to set myself to available so that I can actually take this call, right? But the first person that's going to pick up the call is Lex, and I'm going to make a live call right now.
Welcome to the Ride Assistance Service. You can say things like check my ride status or schedule a new ride.
I'd like to check the status of my ride.
What's the trip number?
1, 2, 3, 4.
And the trip date?
Next Saturday.
Sorry, what was that date?
Next Saturday.
You'd like me to look up the trip details for trip ID 1234 scheduled for September 29th, 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
You'd like me to look up the trip details for trip ID 1234 scheduled for September 29th, 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
You'd like me to look up the trip details
It's the echo. It's the echo.
for scheduled for September 29th, 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, here you go. You're scheduled to be picked up at 2 p.m. from 2121 7th Avenue, Seattle, Washington for your ride to 1800 9th Avenue, Seattle, Washington. How else can I help you? You can say things like, change my ride, get a text confirmation, or I'm done.
Send me a text message.
Can you please repeat that?
Send me a text message.
Sure, I see you are calling from 1-206-631-1555. I'll send the details to that number. Okay, the text message has been sent. What else can I help you with? Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Transfer me to an agent.
Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us and will be answered in the order it was received.
Okay. So what's happening there is a live transfer of the call to the human agent with all of the context intact. So that's mainly what I wanted to show you. I've had this before when I have the echo with the audio. It's not the audio acoustic model is not meant for that, so that doesn't work. Good, excellent. So these are the kinds of experiences you can create, because I remember spending most of my Saturdays calling in to customer service people and then repeating the same message over and over again. And here, with the entire ecosystem of services that we have, it's very easy to put all of these together, and you can create these kinds of experiences which delight your customers. So that's what I wanted to show on Lex. There's a lot more that we have. We've got Transcribe, which is our automatic speech recognition service. We support telephony models. We support regular 16 kilohertz models. We provide punctuation for the transcription. So there's lots of many different kinds of applications that people are using these technologies for these days. So that's basically what I wanted to do. I want to leave some time for questions. So thank you very much for having me.
Is it currently possible, and has anyone done it yet, to use Amazon Comprehend with Alexa skills?
To what?
Use Amazon Comprehend as part of a backend for an Alexa skill.
As a part of a backend for what?
For an Alexa skill.
Oh, for an Alexa skill. Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Right. I mean, there's maybe there's the NLU component in Lex, which some people refer to as NLP mistakenly. Actually, it's natural language understanding is what's used in dialogue systems, and natural language processing is more on text analytics. I've not seen the combination. I have seen on one thing, sentiment. I've seen people build sample bots and sample skills where you can sort of use Comprehend to figure out sentiment of the conversation. So that's probably the only one I've seen so far. Yeah. Any other questions?
A little bit off the topic, but in regards to SageMaker,
Yes. Yeah.
does Amazon have any plans to make it more user-friendly? Because we tried to sell it many times. I run AWS consulting company, and
Okay.
people are afraid just to see this interface.
Okay, so it's the interface. Can you tell me specifically, like, what kind of people that want to use it? Are they data scientists? Do they
usually
understand?
AWS services like user-friendly and this idea of pay as you go and you can build anything like in 2 minutes. But when you speak in regards to SageMaker, this Jupyter and
The Jupyter notebooks?
Yeah.
Do your customers know even what notebooks are? The people that are trying to use it, do they know what notebooks are?
We spoke with 2 teams of data science people, and
Okay.
they said, no, we just can't use that.
Okay. I'd love to connect you to the team, the SageMaker team, so that you could give them that feedback and maybe specifically say something about where the problem is. Is it in the notebook section? Is it in some other place? In training. Okay. I'd love to connect you to your name. We'll connect after the talk. Yeah.
We'll take one more question.
All right.
Hi, can you comment on the challenges associated to expanding Alexa Amazon services to multiple languages, like going to Spanish,
Yeah.
Hindi?
Right. So currently, if you look at it, Poly has the most coverage in terms of languages. It's also the simpler service, if you will. We've got 50 plus voices across 26 different languages, right? We have, and just to go down the list, we've got Transcribe's got English and Spanish, but Transcribe's in GA now for just 3 months. These are very new services. That's the first thing to keep in mind. So we do have the experience of adding Spanish in addition to English there. We have a very aggressive plan on expanding languages, so hopefully you'll see a lot more of it in the near future. It's not, I mean, the key thing is when I think the number one thing is to make sure that several of the things that we build are language agnostic. So for example, if you have an NLU, a natural language understanding module, you want to make sure that it is language agnostic as much as possible. And then the challenge then becomes, how are you going to get all of that data And then how are you, once you, finding the data is a problem, and then the next step is how are you going to annotate the data, right? These are the bigger challenges. But there are more project management challenges, if you will, right? If you've got somebody who's good at managing vendors, different vendors, that's one way to deal with it. We've also tried some creative ways of dealing with it, right? So we're trying ways like create conversations on Mechanical Turk. And I think there was a talk at reInvent from a Facebook group that have done exactly that. So basically the idea is to automate the creation of conversations, because conversational data is not so easy to get. And the way to do it is to create a task where there's two sides of the conversation and both sides have a scripted, like it's not a script, but it's more like they both have goals. Right? And then you let them talk, and you let them chat, and then you record that. And so there's a way to create data without having to explicitly go and collect data in real situations, although we do that as well. You also can do things like use translation as a means to bootstrap some of the things. So that's also something that we try. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. And it does take a lot of different skills to come together because of the complexity involved there. Linguists sometimes, depending on how deep you need to get into, are also important there. And there are some languages that are easier, some languages that are harder. So variants of English are a lot easier. Variants of a language are easier. So that's, for me, one bucket. Then another bucket are languages such as German, French, Italian, and so on. And then third bucket are the tougher languages like Arabic, and those are really difficult. Korean is difficult. And then once you build something, there's also the thing to go and vet it. You think you've got the best thing, but then, especially in Korean, for example, you've got a Korean thing, let's say a Korean voice, poly voice. When you build it and you put it out, you learn that there are very subtle ways in which the same word can be said differently and has completely different meanings. And so you've got to go through that test loop. Even though you think you're ready already, I think that final test loop will tell you many, many things that you would need to then adjust. So that's probably what I can tell you. Yeah.
Thank you, Vasi.
All right. Thank you.
All right.